Hey, Global CE Day, Tom Judd from CED. It's my privilege to introduce a friend. She's still young, but I've known her a long time. Uh, from the USA, Jennifer Ott, clinical engineer. Welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. I'm very happy to be here and be a part of this.
So I'm sitting over here in Atlanta. We're our own country, Atlanta, Georgia. But so where are you hanging out today, Jennifer?
So I'm hanging out in St. Louis today at my office, North Star Management Company in St. Louis, Missouri.
And that's about midway across the country, as everybody knows. So tell us about your role. You have kind of a somewhat unique role in clinical engineering. And as a woman, you're very talented. How did all this come together for you?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the history to start. So when I went to to school, I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They had a very strong electrically based biomedical engineering program. They also had the opportunity to do co-op programs. And so when I was a sophomore, I applied for the co-op program and I started working at the North Chicago VA in their biomed department as a technician. And so the way the co-op program worked is you would go to school a semester and work a semester, and then added another year onto your undergraduate studies. But you came out of there with a year and a half of work experience. And so that really introduced me to the field of hospital-based or clinical engineering. And so when I graduated from that program, I knew I wanted to pursue it a little bit further. I don't know that I was ready to enter the employment field. So that's when I found what was then known as the Dr. Bronzino program and has now affectionately become the Frank Painter program.
And the Carol Davis Smith program.
Yep, now it's the Carol Davis Smith program. You're right. So I applied for that program and did that for 2 years and worked at St. Francis Medical Center. And again, you worked as a staff engineer there and did your classes at night. So you came out of there with, again, 2 years of experience, which was fabulous.
One of the only masters in clinical engineering in the world, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And it was good to know when I was there, we actually, half the program was females at the time. And I think, that was kind of the start of the turning point, I thought, because my undergraduate education, we didn't have a lot of females within the undergraduate group, but it got more and more as I progressed from freshman to senior. But the graduate program was already at 50%. And, when I look at the groups that are graduating now, it's still 50% or more, which I think is great.
And to be fair, it was the Frank Painter program for what, 25 years. And our brother Frank, unbelievable job there, of course, for so long.
Yeah.
And he's still a young guy, but, he's passed the torch. So, women in clinical engineering, I mean, in the American College of Clinical Engineering, where Jennifer's been the president, probably half of our presidents over time have been female because of talent.
Yeah, they have. It's been great. Yeah. So when I finished my graduate degree, I then moved to St. Louis, Missouri. At the time, I was dating a boy. My mother thought it was just disgusting that I was moving across the country to follow a boy, but it all worked out because he's now my husband for the past 25 years. And I started working at St. Louis University Hospital as their director of clinical engineering. And I did that role for 14 years. And during the end of my 14 years, I was working on a construction renovation project in our operating room in PACU and met an architect who said, I have a company in town that is really looking for somebody with your skill level, knowledge base on medical equipment. So I met with the principals of our company, Ken Cates and Ken Cadell, who just started North Star Management back in 1998. So we've been going for about 22 years now, and then started a job there. And it's been, it'll be 13 years in January that I've been working with North Star Management and really focusing on equipment planning for healthcare construction projects for clients all over the United States.
Well, tell us about 2 or 3 of those projects just for fun that you're some of your favorites, because once again, you're doing a little bit unique.
Right. A lot of one of the big clients that I've been working with over the past 12 years has been Mercy Hospital Systems in St. Louis. And the biggest compliment that I've ever received is when you get involved in these very large projects, a new patient tower or a major cancer center, and you're starting from the very initial planning from a programming stage, doing design development, issuing construction documents, and all of the details and specification sheets that have to go with the equipment along with that. But people at some point didn't realize that I was not a Mercy employee. They just assumed that I was. And for me, that's a big compliment, because my role in the company that I'm with is to integrate with the owner and the client to advocate on their behalf to make for the best project possible. So, so I've done a lot of work with Mercy. It's also interesting. We just opened up the new $580 million St. Louis University Hospital, which is what I mentioned earlier, is where I was the former director of clinical engineering. So we actually did the project management as well as the medical equipment for that project. And we've had a really strong team here that led that through to the end. I was involved on a very high level, very early on, consulting with some of the major pieces of equipment and technology that they were using. And currently I'm working on a project in Jupiter, Florida. We're looking at a surgical institute expansion for their facility, and we're doing the design development phase on that right now. So for me, it's very interesting to use engineering knowledge, particularly clinical engineering knowledge, and working with architects and other engineering disciplines, mechanical, electrical, HVAC, things like that, in bringing a project from paper to fruition, and also working with the client, the nursing staff, the physicians, and helping them to interpret 2D drawings and doing mock-ups of rooms, and for them to be able to understand and visualize what they're trying to achieve in their goals and how we can help them get there with their business plan and so on.
And that whole aspect of clinical engineering you're describing, tell about the impact of COVID-19 and also the impact of innovation, which are two things that are real to clinical engineers.
Well, from a COVID-19, we probably had impact in two different ways. One is, we had a lot of clients that we worked with on a regular basis that were struggling with, okay, how do we make more negative pressure rooms? How do we make sure our staff is safe? How can we use equipment safely? And so, we had worked with a lot of our clients to help them understand and work with contractors to modify areas of their building. We also worked to develop temporary places to take care of patients, whether it was the initial screening or, we turned a garage into what could potentially be overflow for patients, and helping them set all those things up, and working to try to track down equipment too, which I'm sure everyone realizes worldwide that was very challenging to try to find things. And then secondly, we're starting to see an impact on the design of spaces in this pandemic world that we live in right now, where, how do you deal with registration desks and waiting areas and patient treatments and patient flows, and how is that going to impact both the design and equipment and costs associated with the complete project. And I think from an innovation standpoint, it's very important for me personally and professionally to try to stay involved with professional societies like the American College of Clinical Engineering, ASHE, AAMI, and so on, just to keep a pulse on what are the latest product developments. What's going on with cybersecurity? How are people managing their technology, and what are the latest and greatest things that are coming down the pike, so that when we work with our clients, we can advise them appropriately so they can be successful and, try to get everything to the next level.
Well, I don't know if you've been able to jump on a plane to go to Jupiter, Florida or not, but, as a new collaborator, we hope this video will help people to invite you to come to other parts of the world to do your thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jennifer, any closing comments for, young men and women entering the field?
Well, I think it's a fabulous field. I try to encourage my kids to do it. But I encourage anyone who has an interest in science and math that clinical engineering is a great field to be in. And I hope I can provide a different perspective than some of the other folks who may be working in a hospital or doing something different, that there's a lot of opportunity out there and a lot of things that you can accomplish with a biomedical and or clinical engineering degree. And certainly being involved and working with other professional groups and peers and mentors, it's very important and helps to make you more successful in the long run.
So Jennifer, you telling me you were in Frank Painter class number 1? You were right there at the beginning, weren't you?
I was probably the end of Bronzino.
Oh, okay.
He was still down in Trumbull, Connecticut, because he was one of the hospitals that I had as part of my thesis project. Okay. When I was doing the development of a clinical engineering knowledge base. It was that first
Frank was doing
thing on
the
benchmarking.
End of his operational clinical engineering career. Very good.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today. Great to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
And happy CE Day.
There you go. All right.